How we doing? This is Fox back again for sound design tutorials. Request day again today. This one, another chap who gets in touch by my Facebook page. If you want any requests, that's how you do it. Send it through to my Facebook page as a direct message. This was Hugh Walker. The track is Fabio and Moon, About to Make Mayo. It's this one. It's a progressive trance sort of track. He wanted the main bass, which is an offbeat sort of driving bass. He wanted some of the wub sounds, but generally, I didn't have time to recreate those. It's a lot harder to try and work out the starting wavetable or starting waveforms for those sort of sounds. So I recreated the main bass and a sort of a little pluck that was in there as well I've done. So 2 sounds for the price of 1 today. This is what we are going to be doing. So this is the bass. This is the pluck. I'll be doing the bass first. If you want to skip that and go to the pluck, there'll be a timestamp in the description, so it'll get you to the pluck. Both of these patches are available to download for free, link in the description. There was also a link in the description to the original track if you want to compare the sounds. If you like this already, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So let's get going. So the first patch we're going to make is the bass. Not much to it really, no effects at all. I've got a bit of external processing regarding some saturation and some EQing. I'll turn those off to start. I'll go ahead and initialize it. So the first one is just an octave, 2 octave down saw wave. We're going to create a bit of a plucky envelope on envelope 1. I want about 1.5 seconds of decay. Quite a linear curve downwards. It's not actually getting time to complete the full decay curve, but it's giving it a bit of a reduction in volume after the initial impact, which is what I wanted. The sub, click it on, turn it down 2 octaves. We're going to send this direct out. It's taking care of the real low end meat of the sound. As I say, there is not honestly much to this sound. I had 2 voices in unison, no detune, just it helps increase the volume of this lower sound. So oscillator B, I chose an analog wavetable. It's a basic one, but it's the basic weird. It was. That's your perfect saw wave, if you like. Dead halfway on this wavetable. I then pushed it round to about 142. Started to bring in some other shape. See, it's got a bit of fuzz there, a bit of fuzz there. That's what I wanted. A tiny little bit of more grit. This one is going to be pitched down 1 octave, so it's an octave higher than oscillator A. 3 voices, and we are going to have some unison on this. I did notice the overall bass sound as a whole did have a bit of width to it. It's a nice way to do it. With it being an octave higher than the original sound, it's not going to be too low. It's not going to be sort of stereo spreading anything that you would class as a sub. So yeah, it's a good place to start. As always, it wants to be controlled with a filter. I'm going to start with a filter open and then use an envelope to close it over time. We're going to drive it, introduce some fat. A and B both going into the filter. As I say, the sub oscillator is going direct out. We haven't got to worry about that. We're going to use envelope 2 to control the filter. As I say, because it's open and we want it to close over time, you don't create a plucky sort of envelope. You do it with the attack time. Make sure that the sustain is on full. Create a reasonable amount of release so that you don't get any clicks when it restarts, about 170 milliseconds. We're going to map this to cutoff. We want it to close off over time. We'll play with this to fine tune it. And yeah, we're just going to push the attack out till it gives us that closing of the envelope that suits the style of bass that we're making. Obviously, the further left the modulation you have, the deeper the sound is going to be at the end of the modulation. So Sounds pretty good to me. I think that's it. It's definitely a low 12 that I had. Pull the resonance down. So it's an easy way to make it brighter or duller is now you've got the modulation set up, just move the cutoff wider, push it around to the right to make it brighter. Or to the left to make it duller. That's pretty much where we had it. The only thing I did do is I added a bit of an impact. It was glass lid. I can't remember which category it's in. I think it's attacks misc. Yeah, glass lid 4. I did control the volume of this with envelope 1, which is the amp envelope, so it wasn't really needed, but set it to only do 1 cycle, set it to key tracking. Just gives a tiny bit of an impact, the sound of a glass lid, obviously. That's it, no effects, so that's the sound done. Nice and straightforward, that was the bass. Now we'll move on to this plucky sound. This one's pretty easy as well. I say there's not much to it. A little bit of modulation, some effects on this one to make it sound a bit wider. So this is what it sounds like on its own. It's obviously a bit quieter in the mix. I didn't want it to overpower the bass. So we're going to initialize this, quickly run through this. Basic shapes for oscillator A and B. Standard stuff for me. If I can use a basic shape I can, I will. 8 voices unison. Quite a bit of detune, around about 0.32. Plus 2 octaves. The notes I've got going in this MIDI clip are bouncing around G2 and B2. So I probably could have done it around the C3 range and then had it only up 1 octave, but anywho, both of them up 2 octaves. 5 voices unison for the sine wave, a little bit more detune. I've got FM from A on this. This is instantly going to introduce a bit more grit. It's going to sound, well, you'll hear. It also creates a bit of stereo depth perception, the way that the FM works when you modulate a square wave into a sine wave. It just does that, gives it an extra sense of width, along with the extra width, obviously, that we're creating by detuning the sounds. What did I do then? I made it into a pluck, MG low 12. We're going to use a filter envelope. We're going to use an envelope to open the filter and then close it off over time. Envelope 2, as always, is the one that I use for this. I want a real plucky decay, around about 1/3 of a second, 300 milliseconds, something like that. No sustain, and then we're going to bring this down. A and B both going into it. Bit of drive. Bit of fat. Easy peasy, that is a lovely, easy, plucky sound. I've got this pretty close to the one that was in there. The effects that I chose were hyperdimension. What did I do? I just increased the mix and pushed the detune around a little bit more. All adding to the overall width of the sound. I then choose the reverb, kept it on hull, boosted the side, and the decay. I got spin, depth, and mix. Obviously, you can use as much or as little as this as you want. I had the reverb at about 20%. One trick you could do with this is create a sort of side chainy shape and then side chain the reverb. This is what I didn't do, but I've just thought about it. And it probably will sound good if we do it as an envelope, drag it on the reverb mix. So you're letting the initial impact of the pluck cut through, and then using this shape to bring the reverb in over time. We'll use this as an aux source, and we'll set it to macro 1. We'll call it verb. There you have it. Easy peasy. I'll save this one. I've already done that one. I'll call it Hugh after the chap that requested it. Hugh Pluck. So as I said, this and the bass patch are available to download in the description. We'll just listen through it all together again. There you have it, lovely offbeat bass, driving offbeat bass. Oh, we didn't talk about the external processing on the bass sound. So we'll soloed the bass again. The saturator, if in doubt, if your bass feels like it needs anything more, always just add a saturator. A couple of dB of drive, soft sine, and aim it around about 500 Hz. It's something I do on nearly all of my basses, especially this sort of driving trancey bass. I know people use the word warmer a lot, but it does make the sound instantly warmer. I've also got a bit of EQ in, just cutting off anything that I didn't want, and a tiny bit of gain increase at around about 800 Hz. It's not really cutting anything out, I was just using the peak of band 2 to boost that section. But yeah, that was it. As I said, if you like this, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Please hit the subscribe button on the way out. And as I said earlier, if you want anything doing yourself, any requests, please send them as a message via my Facebook page as a message. As always, thanks for watching. Cheers.